What is that?
Hello
Uh,
and welcome to. Oh, I am got a loop. Hopefully you know that. Hello, welcome to Devcast Ops. Sorry for the slight technical difficulties at the start there. Um, Yay for Max. But anyway, I'm now streaming and it seems to be happier. Anyway, I'm James. Below me is Wale. To my left, your right is Barnaby. And today we're going to be talking about HashiDays, which was their big convention last Tuesday. They
Guess it's
announced.
probably worth saying that these were previously HashiConf Europe. It's going to be
Yes,
replaced with these.
they changed the names. Oh, I was naming this way. Well, um, so I went to HashiDays. They announced. I went to HashiDays last Tuesday. They announced a lot of stuff. They obviously decided to announce everything the day after we streamed, so maybe a little bit late to the news. But that's what we get for streaming on a Monday, I suppose. Um,
Stream at the end of the week and then have everything wrapped up on a Friday instead.
yeah, but I'm
we
busy
can kind of
Friday.
try the tech roundup.
But I'm busy Friday, so that's less beneficial. Um, so the day itself, I thought I'd give a quick run through of what happened on the actual event, and then we'll go more into depths of the announcements and what they everything they brought out. So then they started. I think 9 was the keynote. So showed up before then. We got free coffee, had a nice selection of breakfasts. Would definitely suggest the food was very good. The food the entire day was very good, which is quite good. Reason to go. The food, maybe not for the cost, but food was good. Brain. So yeah, after that we all got funneled into our nice big room where we did the keynote. Did you two watch the keynote online?
No, I was sort of vaguely thinking about it, but I was in the middle of being very productive doing something else and was enjoying being productive, so didn't want to distract myself.
There were there were two parts to the
Same.
keynote. The first part was not um, for anyone that was in the room. It was the CEO talking about why HashiCorp is so great, and it's like everyone in the room is there for HashiCorp. It feels weird that they were like, "Look how great we are." It's like, yeah, that's why we're
Yeah,
here.
I guess, and we're saying is people have paid for those tickets. The majority of people have paid for those
Yes,
tickets, so they really want to be there. It's not like some of the other expos which are free, and someone goes, "Oh, that'd be fun to turn up to and see what happens." This there is a cost to going, so if you're there, you genuinely want to be there. They do give away some free tickets to sort of corporate partners and stuff like that, but it's a real minority of the
yeah,
people there.
and I think it's worth saying. Obviously, it's all streamed online, so there's a level of people online may be interested in it. I just thought it was quite funny that like that was their big start as the like, hey, this is why you should care about us. It's like, yes, we know. But after that, all the announcements, they did a proper like, it was Armod, yeah,
Armand?
Armand, Armand, yeah.
Mm.
He stood up and he went through all of the announcements. He talked about all their products, proper like what keynotes should more be than like these are all our products, and then we're gonna run through all the announcements, which I think is a good time to start talking about brief summary of the announcements. I'm just going to try and do something cool, which I was not the one that was designed to be doing this stream, so I'm not set up.
I actually shared with you the link. Just click on the link in this Discord.
Yes, but I want to
You use it.
do
Give the picture.
that. There we go. Perfect. I can just hide Wale. Perfect. It's exactly what I want. Yeah. Okay, so they broke it. The way they did in the keynote is they broke it down into 8. I suppose I'll chat them. They have 8 products. Which can either of you two name their 8 products?
Oh. Terraform, Boundary, Waypoint,
Console.
Vagrant, Vault,
Nomad.
Console,
That's
Nomad, and
probably
Packer.
Packer.
Do you have all of them?
So of those 8, the day was focused on the 4 that I put on screen, which are their big updates, and they kind of said that even though they have all the other products, they haven't forgot about the other products. There's obviously more features and stuff coming out for the rest of the year, but these are the big announcement, big features they're announcing. Boundary, which I really like, but I don't think gets enough love, had Boundary Enterprise finally get announced, so people can now pay HashiCorp money to get the support level agreements that come with enterprise licenses. And the one feature that I didn't think was important, but now that they've announced it, I was like, yes, of course, that's something company cares about, which is session recording. So through Boundary, you link up to an SD bucket. It'll now record every single keystroke anyone that does SSH through Boundary clicks, and then you can process that however you like.
I'm not sure I
Amazing.
really want people watching me fail to type in Linux commands over and over again.
But if you're trying to protect your system, the example they had was someone logging into a box's root, saving all the passwords into a file, sending that to themselves, or SCPing that to a server they own, and then deleting the bash history.
Yeah.
Which, yes, that's a really bad thing for someone to do. And if you clear the bash history, there's no way of seeing that happened. So you can be like, yes, someone's SCP'd to a file to a random server, or messing around a password file. Something's probably going on there.
In fairness, I do occasionally mess around with bash histories just because I don't pay attention. I paste things where I shouldn't paste them, and then remove them from the bash history with the knowledge that often it's session recorded, but the person session recording it probably isn't a nefarious actor. You've gone quite deep if you've got to the session recording bins.
But that's an interesting thing. Like, that means that there's a chance session recording bins will have secrets in them. So while a nefarious actor shouldn't have access to them, they just S3 buckets. If someone gets access to those 3 buckets, they can get access to these session recordings. So
when you say the session recording, is it keystrokes recorded? So if you type in passwords and keys,
I don't
does
know.
it strip that?
No one asked that question. That's an interesting question. We could just find out.
We don't have an enterprise license. Oh, I guess
it's also on cloud, and for cloud, it is 90p per session. And for free, because I looked earlier, and actually I think I may set up locally. Maybe that's a good future thing. Is it's 50p a session, or free for 50 sessions. And I think that's 50 sessions a month. So if you're only logging in once a day, it's free.
That's nice.
So, and you can have agents inside your network. So I was thinking a good way of SSHing into like servers you have locally. As long as one of your servers is an agent, it's there. You're not having to punch a hole in your file. Security. Yeah, I think it's a nice feature that means enterprises are more likely to use Boundary.
Hold on, I'm going to share my screen real quick. See if I can share.
We're going to go into this type of sharing. Yeah. I'll hide this picture. We'll watch the stream, and I think I can do that. Why did Barnaby disappear? Why is that showing only 2 people?
Well, it looks like you're just sharing.
You are
sharing
just sharing
a stream.
I can do that.
Oh, let me share the,
You can pick your screen when you share.
Yeah, I did, but it's. I think I'm actually having an issue with my screen. And now
Forgotten everything in the week off. That is the blog. The little snippet of it. You might want to zoom in on the actual recording.
It's not. Oh, you're live. Oh, you've got to think the test manager here.
Alright, so this is the recording part of it. So it shows you, because it says the example of a recorded SSH session played back in the admin UI.
So
So
that looks like it's recording keys because it's typing, and it's not.
Yeah.
Even though it looks like a video, it's not directly video.
yeah.
That'd
Anyways,
be quite an interesting way if someone wanted to implement session recording as just recording of like a video of the screen. It's like
Well,
the most
that's-
like unoptimal way.
When
I
they
guess
showed it, that's what it looked like. Like they didn't. They at no point did they say it records all the minimum by screens in a session. Yeah, so that must be. It records keystrokes.
Yeah.
Because if it's just recording the byte stream, does that mean it'll work with things that are not SSH? That's recording of independent byte streams in a session to be written in parallel. To use and target during a session, because I don't think a session is linked to SSH. You may be able to do like web traffic as well.
Get the old telnet sessions up and running.
Yeah, it seems like it's going to be hitting lots of stuff.
I think it's just SSH, you know. Yeah.
So, but that's his SSH session. Other stuff is just sync sessions. Even if it doesn't work for other stuff, it will. I imagine it will do in the future. I think SSH. I think using Boundary to connect to a website through a website that's hosted somewhere else is a really interesting use case.
Ooh.
I guess
Anyway.
RDP would be the next. The RDP remote desktop platform.
Yeah, RDP is what Windows does for my desktop.
Yeah.
Oh, Plus is 50 month for free as well. That's not bad. Like if it's just you configuring a server, how many times do you log into your server a month?
Do you not want to
No.
contact the sales team for enterprise pricing, and then you can do it all internally yourself?
I really hope that this channel gets big enough that we can get free licenses to show off the enterprise features at some point.
That would be cool.
I don't think we're ever going to get there, but we can hope. I think cloud is more advanced enterprise in most things now, isn't it?
I guess it's worth saying that the Boundary Enterprise went GA at HashiDays.
Yes.
So before it was just cloud. Now you can host it internally if you so desire, or have reason to not have your data going out into those buckets.
I think session recording still requires an S3 bucket.
I wonder, you could host S3 internally then?
But yeah, they said S3 bucket. So I think it does require unless data buckets or something unless there is a on-prem equivalent of a data bucket, they made it sound like S3.
I think there is, because on my client site we push our console backups or snapshots to an S3 bucket, but that S3 bucket is within the on-prem infrastructure. It's not going out to the cloud. So I think there is a way you can sort of imitate an S3 bucket for that purpose.
Yeah, it's S3 on Outpost, which I assume is very expensive. Pricing. S3 on Outpost is. Can I have European prices?
Just get used to dollars. What's the exchange rate? Is like 1.20 to the pound at the moment. I can't remember.
Oh, it's like location.
Oh yeah.
general purpose small unit for workloads such as retail point of sales or enterprise applications. No upfront cost. £6,000 a month. Sorry, $6,000 a month. All upfront is $200,000.
$200,000. I guess it would be
I think they send
proper
you a
now.
box.
Yeah.
Like, I think they're actually, it's not just you run software on your shit. I think it's anyway, distractions. That's all they really announced Boundary. Boundary is cool. I really like Boundary. I think we should do some sessions on Boundary. But yeah, I think that's all for Boundary. Should we move on to the thing they really cared about, which is Vault? Vault was their big one.
It's their biggest market share. It generates the most of their revenues.
So Vault
It's Vault.
secrets. Oh well, actually no. We should let's as much as well as just got up. Let's talk about the Vault Kubernetes operator first, because one leads into the other, and the Kubernetes operator is the smaller thing. So the Kubernetes operator is Vault will now just natively load secrets into the Kubernetes secret system. There's no more sidecarding, none of that stuff. It'll just automatically, in a Kubernetes native way, load secrets into Kubernetes. Which is
it going into Kubernetes secrets? I remember seeing a thing a while back where they were talking about, they Vault publishes the Kubernetes secrets and then pops consumer Kubernetes secret. So you are weakening your security a little bit because you have kind of another place where the secret can be intercepted rather than injecting it straight into the pod.
But a pod doesn't have to care how its secret is delivered. So if you're trying to build applications that aren't that are Kubernetes native but doesn't care how the Kubernetes infrastructure is set up, that's the correct way of doing it. So there's no more sidecars. Like, the application doesn't care how it gets the secrets. So if you're Vault and another thing that interacts with Kubernetes this way, it works the same. I suppose it also means, which is I think one of the other interesting things, is if you're running Kubernetes locally for deving, you don't need to sidecar a Vault agent. You can just load the secrets in manually. Obviously, loading secrets in manually is a bad thing, but it makes local deving a little bit easier.
Yeah, I guess I haven't really messed around too much with Kubernetes secrets. I think actually every time I've run secrets in Kubernetes, I've used a third-party tool to inject them. So my head would just go to use something like Vault, or I think it was Aqua I was playing with previously, and using that to inject rather than using Kubernetes secrets. Although you still end up using some Kubernetes secrets in the deployments, because you get back into the old secret zero problem. You need to have access to pull images stored somewhere within Kubernetes.
Yeah, I think the point about this is that it lives on the control plane level, as the picture that's been pulled up. So it and I assume it uses OIDC to auth, so it doesn't really need.
I think Kubernetes is just JWT, but
JWT, it's the same protocol, really.
The nice thing about that, though, is it will reduce the load on Vault if Vault is just populating the secrets that's consumed by multiple pods rather than sidecarring it into each individual pod. And you'll lower your API requests.
And I think they said within this as well, if a secret changes, there's a way of auto recreating the pods. So Vault can be aware of what pods rely on what secrets and resets and can redeploy. Or that's a Kubernetes thing that you can be like,
yes,
on this secret change redeploy. So maybe it's just that by default.
No, yeah, be on update, reload these pods.
Yeah. But if managing Vault is too much hassle, there's the Vault secrets, HCP Vault secrets. which is weird. Like, they were really hyped for it, and it only works for AWS currently. But what it's designed to do is synchronize secrets to all the other secret providers. So you go to HTTP, you update your secret, it'll then go out to AWS and update AWS Secret Manager. As well as you can just call Vault itself. But it's designed to like update all the other places your secrets can be with the latest version of the secret.
I wonder how much is sort of built in the mid layer of this, because there wasn't a plugin previously for a regular Vault cluster to have AWS as a backend, from what I remember. You could build roles and stuff to the AWS Secret Manager, but it wasn't just storing key value instances in the AWS Secret Manager.
This will go out to Secret Manager and be like, update this value with this key with this value. It's like super weird. Like, it's not anything that Vault currently does.
I wonder how hard, if they'll open it up and have kind of a plugin architecture like they do with a lot of their other products, where you could just write your own.
It's cloud only, so that they must, but it's cloud only. So I don't know how they build that plugins within the cloud.
Yeah. I haven't messed around with cloud too much, but there must be a way to consume plugins in the cloud on your deployment, because otherwise a lot of their third-party integrations wouldn't work very well.
But through Terraform and stuff, you load it in an agent, and then on the Vault ones, you're loading it into the servers they're running in the cloud. The point about this is there is one fat Vault server sitting somewhere that you have a chunk of with your secret, and then when you update the secret, it pushes out.
I wonder, I guess you would just be able to request the plugin put on there, but I guess that you then have to be really careful about making sure the plugins are written securely, because if you write a custom plugin and give it access to sort of sysraw or something.
But what they'll probably do is have a webhook based system where say you build an application that wants to consume secrets through the sync method. You tell Vault to ping this thing in a secure manner, and the secret gets updated, and then you could build the middleware that hits it. You could build a middleware for anything. But yeah, I mean, this looks sweet. It looks like something I will never touch, but I see lots of companies wanting it.
I think it's I'd be surprised if we ever get that involved in this, because it's kind of set up to be very simple. You don't really have to think about it, kind of stuff.
It would be the only time we use it is when we're consumers, because you can do stuff like what I showed, where it's very easy to pick up in Terraform, and it's very easy to swap what set of secrets you're using. If you look at the top line, I mean, the top line's cool, the CLI, so it will wrap your application with its secrets. So you can run, VLT run command, and then type in the command you want to run, and it will load in the environment variable secrets at runtime. So it doesn't load. It's not like you're having to export all the environment variables separately. I can see as a dev it being useful. Kind of infuriates me. It's not a feature for normal Vault.
I guess you'd have to specify the mapping of the environment variables. I'd be intrigued to see how that, in that case, surely it would have to know what the environment variables map to. So there must be something in the back end, or you have to call them a certain thing in your code.
Yeah, it would be. I think it's environment variable, so it would be the name of the variable is the environment variable, and you'd specify what project level you're on.
Yeah, and it'd probably be something it'd be like, I guess it'd be VLT underscore or secret name.
No,
And then
it just exports it as environment variables. I think the point for this, like it doesn't have the VLT stuff. I think the point of this is it's low friction way of getting devs to use secrets. So like, oh, you're using environment variables. Here's the wrapper that has all your environment variables in it.
You make it sound like devs don't want to do security.
Devs want to be fast. Devs want to do whatever they can be to be as fast as possible. But I don't know, I think it's interesting. Wow, we're halfway through and haven't even talked about Terraform yet.
So the next one is Terraform, right?
Yeah, unless you want to talk about console, I can't remember what they actually released for console, but we can dive into Terraform. So they released 3 things, but the second thing is actually they just released the latest version of Terraform. Oh, they said 4 things. Config. I think ephemeral workspaces is quite an interesting idea. And I think it gets around a problem that we all have. I'm just doing this completely out of order because I think ephemeral workspace is an interesting thing to talk about first. So these are workspaces that only last for a set amount of time, and after that will destroy themselves.
Ooh, that would be cool.
So you can be like, this workspace self-destructs in 7 days, unless you're told something else. And it will. I think what they said is after the given amount of time, it will send you an email reminding you, and then if you've not responded to the notification, it will terminate.
Does it wipe the workspace, or does it just wipe the resources within it?
I think everything. I don't think they specified.
It says Terraform will automatically run a destroy plan and apply it to destroy your managed resources. So it would first destroy the managed resources.
So it may keep the workspace then.
I'd love to see how it behaves when it fails to destroy, whether it tries again or if it just panics and throws an error, an email to you again.
Yeah, normal behavior for Terraform is not to retry anyway. So
yeah, the point of this, the assumption behind this that they said is devs are forgetful. We all spin up resources for testing and then forget about them. This should solve that. So even if it just sends you an email going, the destroy failed, please manually clean it up, we'll fix their problem. Because we're all bad, we all spin up stuff that we forget about, which then costs money. And I mean, they're talking about attack surfaces and stuff, but I think the money is more of a important thing than like spinning up these 2 boxes.
If you've forgotten about
we have like loads of POC going on, I think, like that everyone is currently working on, and I don't think after it's been approved or denied, anyone goes back to delete the resources as much. So this will definitely come in handy.
But even if someone's on holiday for a week in the middle of their POC, the resources don't need to be up for that week.
Yeah.
I guess if you're really deving and it's really testing, you could probably have it set to a day that it just deletes at the end of the work day.
Yeah, I think like deleting at 8 or deleting at 5 would be, well, I'm sure most people do like 6 just to make sure they're done. But yeah, I think that'd be quite a cool thing. Like, yep, go for the day, and then 9 a.m. next morning, spin it back up.
All right. So what's the Explorer about?
The Explorer. So the Explorer, if I remember correctly, you may need to look more in the docs. This is they've talked all about Terraform stuff. This is a way of seeing quickly how all your checks, post checks, and plans have run for all your projects. So this is a way for more of your management team to quickly make sure everything is green, all your servers are up, nothing's drifted. So it's kind of the oh, something's gone wrong, what's failed or what's drifted. So it kind of has the health for everything um, within it. So yeah,
All right.
so this is
Hold on.
this is showing how many. Oh, that's the other thing. So it's also a way of seeing what has out of date modules. So if you stop there on that first screen where it flashes, like
This one?
no, a little bit further, yeah, like there. Yeah, so this has every single module in their account, and you can see the version that module's on and how many workspaces are on that count. So if
That
you see there is the second one and the third one are the same module, but they're different versions. So they've got 9 resources that haven't updated to the latest version of that module. And they can see what the workspaces are, and they can then go and talk to the teams that manage those workspaces and be like, hey, you guys are now behind.
is this for enterprise as well, or
Just cloud for now.
oh sure,
And
this was next week.
if you go a little bit, then does the same for providers as well. So you can be like, these people are on the wrong version of the provider, please update.
Terraform versions as well.
Yeah, and then by the end, this is the. I think that last one was all the. Oh no, it's here. This is all the workspaces, if they've drifted, if their health check's fine, and then like how many have passed, how many have erred, sort of thing. So you can kind of see is our workspace happy.
Something the neat thing I think they've built in is if you use Packer with Terraform, you can use the latest flag on an image. So if you release a new Packer image, your drift protection and something like that will pick up that there's a new image and tell you all the workspaces that are yet to update to your latest Packer images. So if you're patching and stuff like that, you'll be able to see it all through that nice management sort of console.
And AWS AMI is the same. Like if you're using AMIs, obviously through Packer or through however you want to deploy them, the Terraform will be like, oh, you're not the latest anymore.
I guess I'd be a little bit more hesitant about using AWS AMIs as latest because you're sort of it's an external system that's can update whenever, and you don't know if that's a broken change. Whereas if you're building your own Packer images, hopefully you've got to test. But yeah.
I mean, if you were building your own AMIs through something else, you actually don't have to use Packer. AWS is their own service, or you can just turn the EC2 instance into an image.
Yeah.
And maybe we suggest manually creating your images. But you can. I suppose while I scroll down, should talk about the next thing. So this is the release of Terraform 1.15, which has released the import block. I suppose we talked about the check block last week, so I don't really need to go too into that. That was also released with this build. The import block seems like something that will fix. Well, actually, there's 2 things else. One thing's really cool. The other thing is just it'll fix problems that you never really know you've had. So from what they said, the import command was buggy and sometimes errored without telling you the problem. Whereas the new import blocks are a lot more thought out. They actually, you run plans with them. It's not just here, lock the state, start messing with the state, and oh, it out. This will actually run a plan and be like, oh yes, I see the resource you want to talk to, and I'll start the process of importing it. The other thing they did is the generated config, where you can go, and I have actually, the times I've used import, this would be very nice. You can tell it to generate the config of the resource, and it will just take every single variable possible for that resource and set it in its correct level in a file you specify.
Is this only generated in the cloud version, right? So I won't be able to try.
No, this is an open source tool. You can do
because the example in the UI.
you can do, I think it's Terraform plan double dash generate hyphen imports and then the file name, and it will then generate the imports from the plan into that file. Or if you do it in cloud, there is an option to download the file for you.
Yeah, it is. But then, okay, I'll try it out because it says here it's just for the cloud.
No, it is a 1.5 thing. They showed it during the day.
Okay.
They showed it through open source first,
All
which
right.
is
And
the time that I've imported resources, because sometimes you just want to click things to life and then see what that means in Terraform. I've just copied the plan and edited it so it doesn't tell me there's anything to change anymore. So it's going to be nice to see the import generate.
all right. And I
Okay.
think this is the last one.
With the imports, if we leave it in once the resource is imported, will it ever throw any issues, or we can just have it there forever? So if you have a resource that you know Terraform occasionally loses track of,
They didn't say anything about deleting the file once you're done. So I assume it's like the check and you can just leave it in. I would be surprised if Terraform ever loses track of something other than Vault, which you can break Vault if you delete. You can break the Vault provider if you delete it. If you delete Vault and then reinstall it, the provider isn't happy. I don't know if the import block will fix that or not.
I think that's normally where it complains when there's stuff in the state file that doesn't exist.
Yeah. And the path failed. So this continuous validation. I think this is the check block that we talked quite a bit about last week. And yeah, at least they do got some costing stuff. It's quite fun for the one of the things they said is they've reduced how often they'll do drift detection. I think you can do drift detection every 8 hours now.
What was it before? Do you know?
I think it was 12 or 24. They've certainly they're very quickly shrinking it. I imagine at some point you'll be able to run it hourly.
Just trying to think how often run drift detection. I guess it depends what you're checking for drift in.
But the drifts now are these check things as well. So now these are just standard health checks. So on top of drift, you're also going, is my website up? Like, can I go to this URL? Like, heck, I mean, I see this and I'm like, they're going to bring out an Ansible competitor at some point. Like, this seems to be them going into, is this, like, declarative statements for setting up your computer.
It's interesting because it's still quite Ansible's and what Terraform and Ansible do. There's still quite a gap there, and I guess these checks are a step there, but I don't think Terraform does the idempotency very well of things on a server.
Yes,
So
I wouldn't suggest you manage your server with Terraform yet. But I thought these checks are them getting closer.
Yeah, it's nice to have the health checks up and running afterwards, but I guess it implies a little bit that once you've run the Terraform, the server's ready to go and you don't have to do any more config.
That's my curiosity is, if the checks fail, could you then go and set the server up and then run it again and be happy?
So I guess I'd be surprised if they haven't built that in, because these checks possibly be for things that some bits of it won't necessarily be managed by Terraform in the final product.
Like Vault, as much as you can spin most of Vault up through Packer, there's a tiny little bit of configure even just in it the first run. So you must have a way of, like, I suppose if the check fails, things just failed. You then go and do the rest of it, and then when the drift protection runs 8 hours later, it'll pick up green.
Yeah.
Though pipeline may fail, which is problematic. Not that you should maybe be running your vault setup on a pipeline.
Why?
You could do. You just need to have it very well, but it's not an easy pipeline to set up. You need to make sure all of the initial secrets are handled securely when they're generated and sent off properly. So you need your PGP keys of all the people
I suppose
that
if you're
want the bit.
using, yeah, if you're using something like Keybase to store the PGP keys,
Yeah.
then it doesn't matter if everyone sees the keys because they're encrypted. Though I'm sure you should only have the person that gets the key seeing the key.
I think if you send a list of encrypted keys to all the key officers and all the keys are individually encrypted, and you trust those key officers is fairly well. Yeah. So them having an encrypted version which they don't have the private key for, you're probably not too worried about. It's a risk you're happy to take.
Well, I suppose, but it's up to you. It's up to the user if that's a risk they want to take. Everyone has their own risk tolerance. Should we go into console? I honestly cannot even remember the part of the talk where they said what they did. Yes, sameness groups. That's what they announced. They announced sameness groups. What a weird name. Do you want to hazard a guess in what sameness groups mean before we look at the docs?
Is it sort of these are like a similar application stack and should be deployed in a sort of HA manner?
It looks like replication. It's just replicating this in different regions because one is
No,
US.
this is console. Console doesn't deal with deployment. This is service mesh stuff.
Oh, is it saying that these applications are the same on different servers, so you can then it will route you to the one of the shortest network hops for you.
So talking about Vault, let's just because Vault's something we talk a lot about. So you have your HA Vault server. Your performance replication server. So you have one server in the US, one server in Europe that are paired together, so all the data is the same. I know it's not the same, mostly the same. You then have your US applications obviously want to talk to the US Vault server. It's faster. But you don't have to be like, you don't want the console name to be like Vault US and then whatever. So you can just tell it to be Vault. So your application is exactly the same. It both just talks to the Vault service, whether it's in the US or in Europe. But say the Vault service in Europe went down, the Europe clusters will then route to the US Vault server. So they know they're the same. It'll load balance to the closest one, but it will fall over to other ones if needed, which is quite nice.
That's nice. It just sounds like they're trying to abstract away some of the pains of networking for you.
Yeah, but it's like if one of the servers go down, how do you manage fallover without having to like do anything?
I guess if you had health checks on your sort of load balancers, that when
there's no this isn't console.
No, but if you were to do it outside a console, you'd sit a load balancer in front of the service, and that would have health checks, and then just route you according to those health checks. Be the kind of external way to do it. Whereas console has the agent running on the servers that will manage the health checks and kind of say this is an available destination.
Yeah, well, it's all DNS based, so it's just like this is where you want to go for this DNS. Yeah, that's the big thing. Oh yeah, they're a higher level of FIPS compliant now.
Sure there's a question. If you ever really want to confuse someone, who's a Vault expert. You ask them whether if you use FIPS compliant HSM to unseal a Vault cluster, if you then unseal other Vault clusters with transit from that Vault cluster, are they also FIPS compliant? Because you can use the HSM to do the transit wrapping now.
Oh, so yes, technically.
It feels like, well, yes, sort of in the spirit of it, but they probably haven't gone and paid someone from FIPS to come and work out whether it actually ticks all the boxes.
Yeah, I suppose you don't want to be the person that has to make the call whether it is or isn't compliant until FIPS has said yes or no.
Yeah, because I think part of the FIPS compliance, they have to get someone to come and check it. You can't just self-certify FIPS compliance.
That's fair. I just talking about the next point on that list. My brain just triggered like why that's actually really useful. You can let console handle your application's authentication to Vault through JWT. So this is saying console will wrap your application's packets in JWT, which means console can handle the authorization of an app to Vault.
Getting to quite a single point of failure. If you get into console, you would be able to impersonate the application. You could then just get its secrets.
But that's quite, I suppose. Yeah, I would have to see how that links. But it's quite hard to. I think it's quite to impersonate a application in console.
Yeah,
I suppose there are private keys that you shouldn't let out for people to be able to impersonate an app.
I guess it's sort of one of those things that once you get to the point where you can impersonate an app, kind of regardless of what security setup you're running, you will probably be able to, the person impersonating will be able to get access to the secrets that application has access to, which is why the least privileges principle is important. So it doesn't have a big blast radius if one application gets compromised in your console network, because this is where you really need to lock things down. Because if you have a very sort of open thing and someone impersonates one app, they could in theory get access to anything in your console space if you've locked it down wrong.
Yeah. Fun. Yeah, there's some other stuff that I don't think I understand fully. But they did quite a big update for console. The Envoy extensions means nothing to me. I don't really know much about console, but the proxy console uses under the hood, they've enabled the use of extensions for that, which I assume means now a lot more things can just hook into console DNS by default. Not DNS, the console's proxy by default.
My knowledge of how Envoy works is not
Yeah.
not that great.
I remembered today that I have the console cert voucher sitting around, so I should the last cert I should sit down and get that done. But that was a whistle stop talk of HashiDays and what they announced. Yeah, I suppose in some way HashiDays was fun. I wish I was with more people that I knew. But that's just
Was there any small lab sessions or any small talks that were like in the corners or something like that?
No, there was one room we were in one room for the entire day.
Oh wow.
Well, other than the leadership, who had their own area and their own talks, we who did I have it somewhere? Yes, I forgot I had my tag here. We had a very boring black band. Leadership had like purple or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had other talks. The rest of the engineers were the ones that were streamed online. The labs, there was one on can't remember. They're online. All the labs were published online. I think it was Vault Secret and what was the other one? I can't remember. I really should have made some notes and looked at them. I can't remember what the sessions were. I can very quickly find out. HashiDays to the internet. London talks were, so the labs were SSH cert injection with boundary and vault. I think that was a lab. Yeah, and then authenticating Terraform with dynamic secrets. The authenticate HashiCorp providers with dynamic secrets was Vault Secrets. Obviously, they couldn't call it that. And then the SSH cert injection, which is how you cut a cert to log into a server via boundary through Vault. Which is fun. Yeah, I mean I think all the talks were pretty good. Quite interesting things.
Yeah, that's good.
I feel like I've talked too much. Any other thoughts from you two?
Not particularly. There's something I probably should mention, slightly relating back to last week, where we were messing around with the CDK, and when we came to Vault, I had it initialized, but it didn't have any of the keys. There seems to be a bit of it's the Kubernetes in Docker Desktop isn't behaving as expected, as it should delete the persistent volume claims, and it's not doing it when the Helm chart is removed. So that's why that was still there. I still need to figure out a solution to it, but kind of if we were running in something like another hosted Kubernetes platform, that you shouldn't see that experience. There's something odd going on there.
I don't know. Someone from work was deploying a highly available Kubernetes cluster in AWS on EKS, the Elastic Kubernetes service, and was having like weird init issues as well, where it was like hanging on the init, and then when he then did something else, it then was like, oh, it's already initialized. It just wasn't giving him the keys. So I have a feeling that Kubernetes and Kubernetes and persistent things are never I don't think go hand in hand particularly well.
No.
But people like
it's not really what it was designed for.
People love their Kubernetes.
Distributed state is an interesting problem that doesn't really have a simple solution.
No, I think Kubernetes is a fun buzzword and is good for some things. I don't think it's good for everything.
You just haven't had it yet.
It's a good use case.
No, so you haven't worked on a project that actually needed it properly.
I've never worked on a project that's needed Kubernetes.
There you go. That's why.
I've seen it deployed very effectively to run Jenkins.
Yeah, I mean, running the Jenkins nodes and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All your job is spin up a pod. The pod executes and then it's destroyed, and that's it.
And that's what Kubernetes should be for.
Yes.
Short-lived, stateless things. Anyway, before I annoy all the Kubernetes people out there, shall we call this a stream?
I think so.
Well then, until next week, make sure you like, share, follow, subscribe, depending on what platform you're watching this on. We keep the VOD live on Twitch for a week, and then we'll move it to YouTube. And yeah, that's it. Sorry for all the weird technical difficulties at the start that YouTube will never know about, so it's fine. Bye.
Yeah.